about to handle this spider and explain a little bit about the techniques you need to do if you're going to hold a tarantula. So I'd say the most important thing is to know what species you have, because not all spiders should be handled. There's a certain amount of risk with any spider big enough to bite, but what you do not want to do is be anywhere near an Asian or an arboreal spider, something from India, Asia, or even Africa, because they tend to be a bit more aggressive and their venom is quite nasty. So I'm comfortable holding this spider. She's a South American bird eater. The Latin name is Grammostola iharingi, and it's known to be one of the more docile species. So I know that the venom's not too bad, and she tends to be quite predictable. There's always a bit of a risk, but I'm quite confident, because I've held her before, that she's not going to do anything too crazy, but you never know. So the main thing when you're about to hold a spider is never approach it from the front. Two reasons for that. The first one is you don't want the spider to think you're food. They can eat mice, they can eat things bigger than your fingers, and if it's a spider that's hungry, its first response might be to pounce. So don't go for the front. Best thing to do is to just test the temperament of the spider. Is a little poke on the abdomen, and if she tends to go forwards, you know she's going to behave. So it tends to be a poke on the abdomen, and just see which way she goes. So she's not running away, which is a good sign. So then I'm going to put a hand out in front. I'm just going to poke her so she walks onto my hand. Now, as you can see, she's a little bit skittish, but that's mainly because she's just kind of feeling her way. She will calm down eventually. And then the technique, she's actually just done some droppings on me, which is lovely. They don't always do that. It's a nice little treat. The main thing is just one hand in front of the other and just kind of let the spider go where it wants. You don't want to do something like squish the spider, because it's going to hurt it, and you definitely don't want to drop a tarantula, because if they fall too far they can burst. They're actually quite fragile. What you tend to find is the spider relaxes after a while, and they don't tend to kind of try and run off if you're lucky. They sort of know they're being handled and they behave in a certain way, which is quite delicate. You can see she's feeling with every foot. She wants to be sure where she's putting her feet. They might after a while just stop, and that's okay. You just kind of like let them rest. The other thing to bear in mind is if they get quite scared, they can run up your arm, and it's best to try and get them before they go onto your shoulder, because it's a bit difficult to get them off your back. I suppose the other thing to bear in mind is spiders, they're not really like something like a rat or a hairy mammal that might tend to enjoy being handled. I wouldn't say a spider enjoys being handled. It is an experience for it, so it's a bit of enrichment in its life, but you're definitely not holding the spider for the benefit of the spider. But it is an amazing experience, and it's something that can help people get over their fear of spiders. A lot of people that are very scared of spiders tend just to be scared of very small or fast house spiders. Tarantulas is quite a different experience, really. And for someone that's never held one before, it can be kind of an enlightening experience. So when you're done holding the spider, you need to put it back into something safe, because they can run off. So I'm just going to let her crawl back into this bowl, which is where I got her from, and it's how I'm going to put her back in the cage. So just a few tips on how to hold a spider. Be very calm. They can be quite nervous, and you see all of these hairs on them. Those are actually sensory hairs. They can feel vibrations, so if you kind of like shout or scream or sneeze or breathe heavily, that's actually going to scare the spider. So it's best if you're in a calm situation sitting down. Other things to bear in mind with the South American spiders, they have a patch of hair on the back of their abdomen, and that they can actually flick off. And the hair is kind of irritating. It can make you sneeze, it can give you a bit of a rash. Some people have a worse reaction. I tend to be absolutely fine, it's just a little bit itchy. But if you notice the spider doing that, and they'll do it with their back legs, and you might see some hair kind of like fly up in the air like fluff, just don't breathe that in. And a lot of South American spiders do it. It's kind of natural. It's their first defence, really, just to say, leave me alone, I'm busy. But that doesn't mean you can't pick the spider up if it's doing that. It's just telling you that it's in a bit of a mood. And actually most spiders tend to be in a bit of a mood anyway. Other things to bear in mind is they do have fangs. There is a risk that they could bite you. The bigger the spider, the bigger the fangs. The fangs are just the first little pair of, they look like spikes coming out of the head. And if the spider opens its mouth and you see those fangs, that's when to put the spider down as fast as you can. But do it in a very calm move. Don't flick the spider off because it's going to hurt the spider more than it's going to hurt you. Having said that, I've never knowingly been bitten by a tarantula I've been holding. They've never been aggressive to me while I'm picking them up. But as I said before, you do need to make sure you know what species you're holding. It is possible to get more aggressive tarantulas like the Asian or arboreal ones that live up trees. Now they're very pretty, they're lovely to keep, but they can jump, their venom's quite bad and they're very aggressive and you wouldn't want to be picking one of those up. So yeah, make sure you know what spider you're dealing with. A couple of other points that you might want to bear in mind is on the tip of each foot of a spider is a retractable pair of claws, and it's quite fascinating watching those claws. They can go in and out, but if you're wearing a woolly jumper and the spider runs up your arm, it's going to take a while to get the spider off. It is possible, but you have to unhook each foot basically, so you need to be very calm if that's going on. You don't want to put a spider on someone wearing a woolly jumper that isn't ready for it. Other things that might happen, if the spider's very relaxed and quite likes you, it might start laying some silk on you. So you can see two spinnerets here. These are the silk producing organs. And if it waves those around, then I take that as a compliment because it's making a nice little home on your hand or on your desk. Other things to bear in mind is although they move quite slowly when they're comfortable, any spider can move extremely quickly. They have to catch prey, so they hunt things like mice or cockroaches, and they move at lightning speed when they do that. Now, if you're holding a spider and you put it down, don't expect it to move at the same speed that you put it down. They tend to shoot off if you leave them on a wide open space. This is why I've got the spider in a bowl here, so I know that she feels more comfortable in this bowl. If she was just on the table, she'd get squared quite quickly.